loose. White dive on it.
This is twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor. They try to save with Harper. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good.
Brown fakes, fires up the three. Bang! Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, layup. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
All right, welcome in. First of the Floor podcast. Ben Vallis here, along with Jake Eisenberg. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Jake, I think it's safe to say this is the most intense the rumor mill has been in the Jays era, certainly since we've been doing this podcast. How are you doing, man? How are you sort of processing all of this?
I wouldn't say it's been like the best week, starting with losing the Rec League semifinal by 1 point, playing on a pretty badly sprained ankle, you know, a la Marcus Smart, Game 6, 2022 Heat. Have a sinus infection, I'm pretty sure. Hurt my back yesterday. Brutal. But here's the thing. And the Celtics seem to be collapsing in on themselves. But you know what? If I've learned anything from the Boston Celtics, is to be resilient. And the sun is shining. The ball will bounce once again. And I'm sure all my injuries as I get into my 30s will get better. Yeah, man.
That's how it goes.
I would say if I'm Brad, I'm not sleeping awesome right now.
He looked disheveled at the post-draft, the post-first round draft press conference. Didn't you think he walked in, he was like all up in his phone? He looked, I don't know, just like he's normally like so, the haircut's squared off. Like he just looks kind of like always really well put together. And he still looked great, don't get me wrong. Love the guy. But he looked worn down, I thought. Did you pick up on that at all?
Yeah, I did. There was definitely some disheveledness to the Brad Stevens press conference. I thought he was up till all hours dealing with the fucking Milwaukee Bucks front office disarray between the owners and the general managers. And he's like, how is this the way you guys run business? This is ridiculous. And yeah, but he was still able to draft 2 All-Stars with the 27th and 40th overall pick. So impressive work from Bradley.
Which we'll get to. We'll get to some draft stuff. We'll hold most of the draft stuff for when Spoonie's back, because he's our definitely in-house, many things, but definitely in-house draft expert. Of course, we want to talk about the Ron Harper steal of a contract extension, which I think is just great, mutually beneficial for all parties involved. But we thought with all the stuff going on, as much as I think rather just keep Jaylen Brown and run it back with the Jays, it does seem somewhat inevitable that if a trade doesn't happen soon, at least the shopping around and the rumors of these trades are going to continue indefinitely. So we thought it'd be a good time to rank all of the potential Jaylen Brown trade packages that that we're sort of aware of, that have been rumored or reported recently, and including within that the notion of just keeping Jaylen Brown. So I don't know how you want to do this, Jake. Like, I've got a couple of potential packages we can run through. We can probably just like run through them at a macro level, like the Portland package, the New Orleans package, the Rockets package, and then kind of like dive into each of them. But I guess where I want to start with, at this point in time, with the things that we know and certainly everything we don't know, does keeping Jaylen Brown rank at this point? You're just like, fuck it, keep Jaylen, repair the relationship. That's going to be way better than anything else that's apparently on the table at this point in time.
I think it might be good to zoom out just a little bit and kind of set how the market feels right now in the Jaylen Brown post-Giannis trade not happening, the post-Giannis not trade fuck-up world that we find ourselves in. Because in theory, it should be very easy to move a 29-year-old, 5-time All-Star, Finals MVP, dude that just came off a 6th in MVP season, 29. His age begins with a 2. He has 3 years left on his contract. So, like, this is the time to trade this type of player, because what happened with Giannis, they waited all the way until he only has 1 year left on his contract, and he's able to dictate where he goes and who he's comfortable signing an extension with. You have 3 years left with Jaylen Brown. I'm getting pretty concerned from that perspective that something didn't happen like pretty soon after. What it feels like to me is that the market is trying to squeeze Brad Stevens now.
Mhm.
We're getting all these reports, quote unquote. The inflammatory one today was Bobby Marks, Celtics legend, honestly, probably deserves to have his own jersey retired in the rafters for sending us the Brooklyn Nets picks and leading to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and the 2024 championship. Said that he spoke to a GM that has Jaylen Brown ranked 7th in some of their analytics on the Boston Celtics. Now, that sounds exactly like something that you would say to someone you're negotiating with about a player like Jaylen Brown. Reports that Houston and the Hornets are not interested and not engaging with the Celtics. Again, I find that really hard to believe a team like Houston and Charlotte, and among other teams, are not interested in Jaylen Brown. And I don't think this is Bobby Marks is a hack thing. I think Bobby Marks was told that. Was he told the truth of whether that person believes Jaylen Brown is ranked 7th on the Boston Celtics? Obviously not. But the league is acting like the Boston Celtics need to trade Jaylen Brown. And I think that they should trade Jaylen Brown. But right now, it does not feel as if Brad is in a position of power. It feels like he's the dude at the poker table that went all in and lost on the river and now is like protecting this little pile of chips and has to slowly work his way back into the game.
Yeah, I think it's like you kind of got to like walk away for a little bit and come back once everything's settled down, because if Jaylen Brown's trade value is at an all-time low because of all the noise over the past few weeks, I feel like the power play right now is just to just chill for a bit and just like let everything simmer down and allow the league to remember like the value that you're getting in a player like Jaylen Brown on and off the court. Because at this point, it just seems like we've been whittled down to like a really weak position, as you say, Jake. So in that sense, I kind of hope that nothing happens anytime soon, because certainly with everything that's out there, I mean, to get into these packages now, like there's no position better than just having Jaylen Brown on your team, I think, with what's been proposed. That said, it needs to be a content, happy, bought-in Jaylen Brown, and we don't know those details, and we don't know if there's been a request for a trade. I was listening to Corrales recently, and he was like, that just surely just has to have been between the end of the season and now for Brad to be conducting things in the way that he is, and for the rumor mill to be as intense as it currently is. There has to have been some sort of request for a trade or some sort of indication that the best way to move forward for both parties is for a trade to occur. Just seems like there's just too much noise for that not to be the case. Occam's razor, would you agree with that? You're on mute.
Sorry, I was pouring tea from my teapot into my cup here. Apologies. Or Jaylen Brown, we love him. He's been awesome in the regular season most recently. Not good in the playoff series against the Philadelphia 76ers. If he was good in that playoff series and then you go down swinging against the New York Knicks and you're like, yeah, he lived up to this All-NBA, second-team All-NBA MVP candidate level. We go back and look at the playoffs from 23, 24, 25, 26, the Joe Mazzulla era, that Heat series. You can start with game 2 where Jaylen Brown goes 7 for 22 and is instrumental in why they start that series down 0-2 and 0-3. Horrendous game 7. Comes back and has the best season of his career. I can't hold 2025 against him with the meniscus knee thing, but he had a bit of an up and down season that year. And then this most recent season, it's like, okay, he's taken this step forward as a playmaker, decision maker, and it all went away in the playoffs. And
he wasn't the only one though.
Wasn't the only one, but he's the one getting paid $60 million. He's the MVP candidate. He's the one that wants to come out and be like, I'm the best two-way player in the league. Fucking give that shit up. Maxey was kicking the like toasting you just after possession. So I think that's part of it. Maybe Brad Stevens was like, I don't know, we kind of just proved that we don't need Jaylen Brown in the regular season. I don't necessarily agree. I think these on-off numbers, again, we talked about it a lot. The number that is important that is left out a lot of time is when Jaylen Brown is on the court, they're very good. But in the most recent playoffs, they were not very good with Jaylen Brown on the court. And he was the dude that was like supposed to carry us through that series and through the Philadelphia 76ers with Tatum kind of coming back in this diminished role. And he wasn't able to do it. Yeah, like he was a negative 3.2 on the court in the Sixers series, and they were a plus 20 with him off. Again, there's a ton of noise to that shit, but that's the other thing. Oka, the Rozier. That's the other one.
Yeah, tough. But all very good points. So I know you've got some screenshots here. You're, as always, more prepared than I am. Do you want to run us through sort of the primary trade packages you've got in mind, and I'll sort of color in around the edges?
Yeah. It's hard because Anyway, I've got them. The Hornets were interesting. They kind of came up most recently yesterday in the wake of the LaMelo Ball trade. Again, kind of reported that they wouldn't be interested. I'm not sure I believe it. But a Brandon Miller, Grant Williams, and the disgusting part of this trade is you have to kind of take on Miles Bridges for this to make the money work. But if I'm doing this Jaylen Brown trade, and this goes back to the Brad thing and Giannis, none of these returns are as good as Giannis. And so now if we're not doing the Giannis thing, at least they're especially not making you as good immediately. So if you're going to do these trades, to me, you have to get younger and you have to accumulate assets for like this next push and create like, I hesitate to say 2 timelines because that does not work, but you extend your timeline as opposed to shortening your timeline would be the way that I'm viewing these things. And we've talked about the Pelicans won a ton. That's Trey Murphy. I'm someone who would prefer to go and swing on Zion as opposed to taking on like the DeJounte and Herb Jones contracts. I feel like we have 3 guys I'd rather play than Herb Jones on the roster already. And then DeJounte Murray, I don't really want to have another guy coming off an Achilles on the team that doesn't solve a ton of the rim pressure problems. Whereas you roll the dice on Zion, all of a sudden you've just got like Giannis light. Does it work? Probably not. But Trey Murphy is kind of like the center of the package, and you send out Jaylen and Hauser for Zion and Trey Murphy. So I'll throw those 2 at you to start.
Yeah. So again, like, not only are we not getting a player as good as Giannis, we're not really even getting a player as good as Jaylen Brown. And so then how do you sell yourselves on that? You're selling yourself on like roster and salary diversity. Like you're kind of like breaking up the chunk that is Jaylen Brown into like multiple useful pieces, both from a salary and on the court contribution perspective. From the Hornets side of things, Brandon Miller, obviously is very talented, up-and-coming young player. I do like the positional diversity that you get there when you throw in Naz Reid as well. Bridges, I'd be looking to move off of him as quickly as possible just for the vibes and the not wanting to like pay basically like known abuser. But I think that's already been well and truly litigated, so we'll move on from there. And I'd imagine you would get some draft capital in that trade as well with the Hornets, just due to the outgoing value of Jaylen Brown. What's up, Jackson Moon? Welcome.
What up, Jack? No, I'm just laughing at Tone Shifter's comment. Another injury-prone player. Great. Hey, Boston, how about injury-prone player for a healthy player? Dumb as hell, Jake. The trade is for Trey Murphy.
Yeah.
And then you're getting this lottery ticket in Zion Williamson at the same time. Again, this all goes back to like none of the I don't really feel awesome about this stuff. But to me, I think you've seen what they can do last regular season without Jason Tatum. And then as Jaylen is the guy, you swap in Tatum, and you basically supercharge the version of last year's roster. You've got the inbuilt development of the team, a bunch of the young guys, and then you're adding a Trey Murphy in a way you didn't have that last season. And then another good point, Plamo, you're ignoring the no arsehole dickhead requirement, which my dad reminded me of when I said we should have traded for LaMelo Ball. It does appear that Brad will probably try to keep that going, but that's the vision with this trade. The Zion part is like the add-on. It's easy to get out of his contract. It's about Trey Murphy for Jaylen Brown plus a lottery ticket. I'd much rather roll the dice on the lottery ticket than like Herb Jones, who's basically just Jordan Walsh.
Well, this comment from Timo regarding like I don't think New Orleans are ready to give up on Zion. I think they might be, and I think if you give them an easy out of the Zion situation while also acquiring Jaylen Brown, that's actually a huge incentive for them to participate in this trade. For me, in the New Orleans side of things, like Trey Murphy, obviously fantastic, talented player. In lieu of a player of the quality and the size of Jaylen Brown's contract, great alternative at a much better price point. For me, where it gets interesting is if you can leverage, obviously we've had some issues at the big man spot. If you can leverage Derek Queen as part of, I know he's an imperfect and young player, but he's also a very promising young player on a rookie scale contract. And if we're really resigning ourselves to the reality of getting off Jaylen Brown, like we do need to explore upside elsewhere, obviously. And I think Derek Queen, high upside player that'd be absolutely looking to leverage and get as part of that Trey Murphy package. And then, yeah, there's like,
why are they doing this? That's the thing when I look at these packages.
It's Jaylen fucking Brown.
That's
why you're doing it.
Goes back to my thing. What does that mean? And what does that value? Like, I'm starting to become quite skeptical on what the value is, and maybe Brad's going to prove me wrong here. But like, and they just drafted Derek Queen after moving up in the draft and giving away I think it became the 8th pick, if I'm not mistaken. I would be stunned. But again, it is the Pelicans who just did that weird trade last season. So from the Pelicans' perspective, I don't see why they're giving up on their rookie that they have to go all in on, basically.
We got about 9 seconds to legally pay the bills here, Jake. We're going to hear a quick word from our friends at PrizePicks, but we're not quite done. We'll be back in a second. Jake.
That's right. It is PrizePicks time. And while the NBA season is still in the rearview mirror, the World Cup, we got Australia versus Egypt, Ben. It was looking like Australia versus Belgium for a moment, which was going
New
to
Zealand.
be a problem. And that would have been nice too, but Belgium was looking quite likely. Egypt, we can draw Egypt and get to a penalty shootout. That would be fun. So yeah, make sure you're getting in on PrizePicks for WNBA, all of the available sports on the app, and we'll get Spoonie back to create a winner, of course, on PrizePicks as we move towards the final rounds of the World Cup. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, a preferred partner of the NBA.
Yeah, shout out PrizePicks. We would love to do our screen share, run through and make our picks, but currently we're both outside of the US and therefore unable to access. But shout out PrizePicks, shout out the CLNS Media Network for supporting this show. You can do the same, support this show, subscribe, hit the like button, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, 5-star rating, review, all that good stuff will really help us in our fight against the algorithm. Before we move on to the other trades, like I just feel like we need to sort of assign these an initial ranking spot. For me, like I know I've been banging on about this in the Discord, but the New Orleans package with Derek Queen and Trey Murphy, like I just feel like, again, similar to the Hornets package with Brandon Miller and Naz Reid, like we need more diversity. We need more roster diversity in lieu of, again, my preference would just be to hold on to Jaylen Brown. We need a boost in talent at the big man spot, and which is why the Naz Reid or the Derek Queen acquisitions are enticing to me. They're not even the primary parts of those trades, but it's the filler in addition to continual talent at the wing spot that is really enticing to me. So these are up there for me in the trade rankings.
I guess this is tricky because it's like, yeah, sure, if we go Trey Murphy and Derek Queen and we go Naz Reid and Brandon Miller, those are awesome packages, and I'd be like,
and a bunch of picks,
perfect,
please.
And
ideally.
I just
implied.
I just don't think that's happening.
Oh, okay.
I just don't think that's happening, and so I think this is a good pivot because the only team right now that feels like in on Jaylen Brown is the Portland Trail Blazers, and the packages that we were throwing around yesterday are like, I love Jaylen. I don't think it's realistic to this is the best time to trade him. I think it's time. I think the writing is on the wall. If you're telling me that he can come back and everything's kumbaya, then that's a great reality for the Boston Celtics.
Huge
There was a
compliment
report yesterday from Stein, and the wording was Boston doesn't, I'm paraphrasing, the wording, but this part was not paraphrasing, does not view it as impossible to bring Jaylen Brown back and repair the relationship. Using the word not viewed as impossible. Yeah, my wife doesn't think it's impossible for me to not waste several months of my life playing fantasy football between September and December. Are we being honest with ourselves? What are we doing? You know, like it's not viewed as impossible as me watching every second of Summer League. Very unlikely that I'm going to miss a second of it. That's not the wording you want to hear when it comes to bringing back Jaylen Brown. Now, again, he's a professional, and at the end of the day, he's being paid $60 million fucking dollars to play basketball for the Boston Celtics. And he can feel slighted, but at the end of the day, they've given him Finals MVP, 5 All-Star games, multiple All-NBAs, and $400 million. And in both cases where they gave him his big contracts, the rest of the NBA thought they were overpays, and they gave him those contracts. So they haven't exactly treated him like garbage.
No, not at all.
So if they can bring him back and he's kumbaya, then yeah, I prefer that to pretty much all of these. But like the ones that I view as realistic. If you're telling me we can get Murphy and Derek Queen and picks, or we can get Naz Reid, Brandon Miller and picks, then yeah, I'm doing those trades. I just don't view those as realistic packages, if that makes sense.
Yeah, fair enough. I freak out. This is why I'm in no sort of decision-making capacity in any profession ever in the world. But like, I'd be sitting on my hands because I'm like, if you wait a year, are the packages this time next year better? Essentially, when there's like potentially more players available, more draft capital available, more suitors available. But the other look at that is like the sands of time are passing through the hourglass, and like, do you need to just do it now? I gotta answer this question real quick. Someone is asking about where I got this shirt. It's not a shirt; it's a jumper or a sweater, as it's called in the US. Sweatshirt. I got it from the NBA store in Sydney. Shout out to
we got to be honest about the word jumper for a sweatshirt. That is ridiculous for Australians. Jumper? How does that make any sense?
I don't know. You jump into it, getting out the door. It's cold. Jump into your jumper. I don't know. We got plenty of season to break down the jargon.
It's a wonderful word. I just think it's absurd. So back to the Portland thing as the one team that seems to be actually interested. So we're throwing around like, okay, Klingon, Kamara, and I don't know, some salary filler, Shaden Sharp to make it work. And all of the reporting today, so this guy, Danny Meringue, again, another Australianism here. Danny, Australian dessert, is another word for meringue. What's been expressed to me as it pertains to a Jaylen Brown deal, I don't expect Denny, Klingon, or Kamara would be in those talks. Grant, Sharp, Henderson, and any/all draft capital, that's the pot I believe they're working with.
That's bullshit to me. Like,
so,
cough something up.
So, but if you're Portland, I'm just not there's no point in doing the trade if I have to give up Denny or Klingon. Those two make sense. The Kamara part is a fucking ridiculous. You don't need Kamara if you have Denny and Jaylen. Those guys are going to be playing your wing spots, your 3 and your 4 for the season. So I made a trade though without those guys in it, and they said any and all picks. Very interesting. And I don't know what the fucking Bucks were doing if they want their own picks back, but Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, and instead of Jeremy Grant, we bring back Drew Holiday, and you get, I put 5 first-round picks in here. That does seem over the top, because if you are able to get these picks, specifically the 3 Milwaukee picks, I'm going off the wording in that any/all quote from Danny Meringue, who I have no idea how much to trust him, but everyone seems to be on the Blazers side, buying into what he's selling. You can make any trades you want after that.
Yeah. And Jack, very well timed comment here. Any and all picks is everything. Get those in the TPEs look very, very interesting indeed.
So it's not. So that return is disgusting on its face, especially if it's Jeremy Grant and Shaden Sharp. If it's those two, then you actually should get 5 picks because Jeremy Grant is bad and has a player option. Not for this upcoming season. He's already locked in at 34 million. A player option for 36 million in 27/28, and he's bad. Shaden Sharp has a 4-year contract at like 20 plus million. He's terrible, and there's a reason why he's being included in this deal and not these other guys. So you should get 5 picks. And now you do have tradable salary with these Milwaukee picks to make the other trades that we do like.
Yeah. Is this emerging as number 1 ranked potential trade package? And
It's emerging as number 1 most likely.
I know I have a tendency to throw out like almost always only unrealistic like ideas here, Jake. But is there a world where you say, hang on to my mates over in Portland, hang on to half of those draft picks, but we're going to need Klingon. We're going to need Klingon. We need a big man. You got one. You want Jaylen Brown. We'll only take half those picks off the table.
What's the point of them doing the trade then? Now it's the Rob Williams, Young Hansen, big man.
Yeah, you got Time Lord. You've got the Advia Jaylen Brown combo. You've got sort of plenty of talent remaining, and you've still got half your picks for other maneuvers.
If I'm Portland, the trade doesn't make sense to me. Like the only 2 guys that would be untouchable in that trade is Klingon and Denny, because to me the roster and the future of the team doesn't make sense without those guys. Now, could we do a sign and trade where we do Rob Williams, Drew, Scoot? Okay. Now I'm a bit more interested. But
Sure.
again, I like the Scoot Flyer. The Scoot Flyer and all the picks are interesting. And if we could do Drew instead of Jeremy Grant, now I'm like talking myself into some stuff. Because Drew Holiday, while he was on the court last season, was still awesome.
Yeah.
In the playoff series against the Spurs was fucking electric.
Mm-hmm.
And still that dude on defense. And was objectively better than Derek White than in the playoffs. Which is, yeah. So if we can get Drew, Scoot, and then Sharp and 3 picks, I'm happy. And again, this is turned into like a what's realistic situation or what's most likely to happen based on what the reporting is. But then we can roll that into the because then if you end up with Trey Murphy, Drew, and Scoot, Trey Murphy, Drew, Scoot, and you send out the Sharp and some of these picks. If the package is Trey, Drew, Scoot, am I tickling anything for you?
Yeah, I'm feeling sufficiently tickled, Jake. Absolutely.
So,
folks in the chat, let us know how tickled you're feeling at the moment as well. Yeah, I mean,
Howard in the chat, Scoot would look good in Maine. Steve Zilla, yes, Scoot is barely an NBA player. I hate did you guys not watch? He was really, really good in the playoff series against the Spurs. 15 points per game, not a lot of rebounding. On 55% on 60% true shooting, small sample size. But once he got healthy, he showed some flashes. He's still 21. There's a reason he got drafted 2nd overall. You get him in the Celtic system, he's able to play just to play a role. I really like that flyer. So while it's going to be pretty disgusting on its face, Drew, Scoot, flip the remaining nonsense into Trey Murphy, I think we're back.
Jordan Walsh takes Scoot under his wings. He's had to be awesome and have a developmental trajectory at 21 in green.
Yeah. And then that really does help you buy into this youth movement. Obviously, Drew Holiday aside, but Scoot 21, Senak 19, Walsh, Ugo, Ron Harper Jr., Baylor, Cater, all these guys are a maximum of 26 years old. Mm-hmm. And then Tatum is the oldest dude on the team that matters. It's true. But that he's 28. And you can now really look to make this second push. You rebuild these contracts. You have replenished your picks. You have ammo to now trade Derek plus whoever for whatever next star is available. Yeah, this guy loves your shirt. Shout out to Super Chat. Ben, can you stand up?
I wasn't going to do it, but if you're paying us $5.
So I can screenshot and reverse Google shirt. I want that shirt. Lol.
There you go. You can pause the stream if you want to screenshot that.
Yeah. And you can pay more and he'll take it off.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'll do anything for money. Now, if we're done with the Portland situation, then I think there's a couple more. I know you've got a Rockets one. There's definitely a rumored like Detroit Jaylen Brown sign and trade.
Yesterday. We can do that too.
Yeah, so it's basically the Pistons, they sign and trade Jaylen Brown, and then you're looking at like additional salary filler and likely picks as well. So the Pistons would get Jaylen Brown. They get to pair him with Cade Cunningham. So insane backcourt. Duran's a restricted free agent, so he needs to be signed to a new deal first. That number plus filler needs to approach the $57 million mark we're looking at for Jaylen Brown. I think there's a bit of a CBA wrinkle as well, where the sign and trade on a restricted free agent triggers base year complications. This is where we need Spoonie and hard caps Detroit at the first apron. Mark Stein and Jake Fisher have said don't rule this out, whereas Chris Haynes has already said that this is dead. But
that means it's not dead because Chris Haynes is a fucking idiot.
There we go. I'm glad someone said it. But this goes back to like my clear like thirst for a big man.
Yep.
But I don't know if we're necessarily like putting ourselves on the best trajectory if we're just like repurposing like a contract of that size towards another player. But he is young and he is a big.
Yeah, I do think that the Duran acquisition makes a lot of sense. I know people are going to point to the playoffs as like, how can we trade for a guy that'll fix our playoff problems? Trading for a dude that was like one of the most historical playoff droppers in the history of the NBA. The dude's like 22 and just made an All-NBA team. I think it would be pretty short-sighted and reactionary to over-index on that. And to that point, I know Eric Weiss, I'd say I wouldn't trade Jaylen for Mobley. But yeah, that was in a pre-Giannis trade fuck-up world. Above all of this, Jaylen for Mobley, I would rank number one, probably above everything here. Just do that trade. I don't think if that's on the table, great. But Steve makes a good point. Do I really want to fucking send Jaylen Brown to the Pistons?
Yeah.
That's like not really. That's why I like this Blazers situation for a variety of reasons. You kind of just, you don't have to deal with this. Like the emotion. And do I want to deal with Jaylen Brown, chip on his shoulder back in the Garden 3 times, 4 times a year, maybe in a playoff series? Not particularly. So sending him to the West. Jaylen for Mobley is disrespectful. Got bad news for you, Isaiah.617. Got bad news for you. The trade, the perception for Jaylen is so wide. It's so wide. Like it's clearly as high as 6th in MVP. And it's all the way apparently as if you look at the time decay 3-year sample size Rap'em, he ranks like 11th on the Celtics last season.
It's crazy how much is going on with Jaylen Brown right now. Like aside from all this trade stuff we've been talking about for like over half an hour now, but like he was clapping back on Twitter today, which I loved. Like he's just like, fuck that. Like I've got like more wins and points or whatever it is in the playoffs over the last 10 years than anybody. Yeah. And he's clapping back at Stephen A. Stephen A is clapping back at him. It seems like that's going to come to a head. Like, are they going to get on TV together? Is Stephen A going to jump on his stream? Like, what's going to eventuate there? There's plenty going on. So I hope JB likes it that way because that's all his life seems to be about at the moment. But okay, so interesting. Jaylen Brown for Jaylen Brown, or you'd rather send him to Cleveland instead in this instance?
I'd rather send him to Cleveland for sure. And there is a little bit of like complications with them being in the second apron, but the money's close enough where they could make a move to make it happen. I would much rather send him to Cleveland because I don't think that he makes them a title team as long as James Harden's there. And I like the way that we would like, again, the big man need is very real. And Mobley's still only 24, 25. I think he would look really fucking good next to Jason Tatum. He won Defensive Player of the Year. I think that it's unlikely he lives up to the $50+ million price tag. But big men that can do as many things that he can do are hard to find. The big man market is becoming like really expensive. But yeah, I'd rather send him 1 to Cleveland, and 2, I'd rather get Mobley than Jaylen Brown on like a 4-year, 100, let's call it $40 million per. Like as much as I like kind of rolling the dice on the 22-year-old All-NBA big man, I think would be electric with Jason Tatum as he was with Cade. there's definitely some risk to that as well. But yeah, the sending him to the East part is also scary to me.
All right, hit us with the Rockets one, and then let's rank, and then let's move on.
Okay. Alperen Şengün, Jabari Smith for Jaylen Brown. I'd love to get the Nets 2027. I'd love to get the Nets 2027 pick in that trade. It's well known that I am not a Şengün guy because there's three things to me that matter in the playoffs at the highest levels. Can you protect the rim? Can you switch defensively? Because that's the thing. If you're going to be a big man, your number one job is to be the anchor of the defense. Can you do either of those things? And then can you shoot? He can do none of those things. He would be awesome in the regular season. But the Celtics have solved regular season basketball. I am not worried in the slightest that they're going to have less than 50 wins with Jason Tatum back and whoever's on the team. They've proven that they can do that 4 years under Mazzulla, especially last year getting to 56 wins. I would much rather pay my big man rotation $6 million if they're going to get exposed in the playoffs than pay them $35 million in Alperen Şengün. If I'm doing that trade, I have to get that Brooklyn pick. I like Jabari. I think he's overrated and overpaid. This is very low on my rankings list. This is like if you have to make the trade. This is like one of the lowest ones.
I think this is the lowest one, to be honest, because it just, I don't know, unless the draft capital is insane, which it seems like it's not going to be. And then you just stuck with Şengün with a playoff success ceiling, like he kind of called out there. So I think we can immediately slot that in to the lowest. I don't know if you can rework that so Durant's involved, does that bump it up your rankings at all?
Sorry, I'm just reading this comment. Ungrateful motherfuckers. Giannis dream is over trading Jalen. You're like, Brad Stevens is trying to trade Jalen.
I just ignore those comments, because it's like there's no basketball. Like, we've got to talk about something, dude. So
like, people saying you guys are crazy. Da, da, da. Brad Stevens tried to trade Jalen for Giannis. Brad Stevens is trying to trade Jalen now. We are the ones reacting to what he is doing. They never have leaks. The way that they're operating right now is like kind of astounding. The way that we're hearing reports from Shams, like they're demanding 4 first-round picks and like getting actual details on stuff is so far. Think about how the Marcus Smart trade happened. No one heard anything about anything. And next thing you know, Marcus Smart's traded and
Derek White.
feel pretty good about the return. So like this is why we're talking about it. Again, I would rank Jaylen Brown coming back and Kumbaya as one of the best options on this list. I just don't know how real that is.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get to ranking. This is going to be tough, and I hope that
so badly, and I'm like fucking yelling at people.
No, like it's interesting, and like someone else said, like Celtics media clown show needs to, like, we're not Celtics media. We're just, I mean, Jake has been Celtics media, absolutely. Like, total respect to Jake getting into that room, asking Joe Mazzulla questions with steely nerves, something that I would not be capable of doing. But right now we're just a couple of dudes talking shop. But to try and rank this is going to be like quite difficult. Yes. I hate to say this, and I hope that we've set the right context so that we can say this plainly and clearly. We obviously adore Jaylen Brown. We would love Jaylen Brown to remain a Celtic for a very long time. This is more not an anti-Jaylen Brown ranking that we're about to give you, but anti-CBA, anti-second apron constraints conversation, because a few years ago, as this team was being assembled, we couldn't have predicted that we would be in this situation where all these constraints are dictating, these options that we're now looking at. With all of that in mind, I think the Portland many draft pick acquisition and the flexibility we have with our TPEs, it's got to be number one for me. And then I think second to that is probably holding on to Jaylen and just seeing where that goes, whether that's a full reparation, whether that's you stop and you have a look around again around the trade deadline or next year. I think if that offer is truly on the table, like fucking 5 draft picks, including some of those Milwaukee ones, that's probably the time you got to do it with the sort of salary-based contract diversity benefits that come with that. Unfortunately, that's number one for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm with you, and I think part of that is that it feels the most real right now. And yeah, I think I said it 20 times already. The Drew, Scoot, Sharp thing, like maybe Sharp gets the Boston Celtics bump. I really don't like his game. There's like no bigger gap in the NBA between someone's highlight reel and their impact on the court. He's like actually what Jaylen Brown, what the haters of Jaylen Brown think Jaylen Brown is, in that he's a hooper, but actually doesn't impact winning in the slightest. Can he kind of get better at defense, rebounding, the little things, cut out the horrendous shot diet? Scoot the flyer. Drew, I still think if you manage his minutes, can be really, really impactful and still be really, really good in the playoffs as well. And then, yeah, the Bucks plus the Bucks picks plus the flexibility that gives you. Because,
So
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, we're saying 1, Portland, 2, no trade, 3, I think it's got to be New Orleans.
Yeah. I think
4, Hornets.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, the Hornet, the Pelican stuff. I think Trey Murphy has become overrated, and asking him to be like the second best player on a team that wins a title is going to be the reason you don't win a title.
Mhm.
However, I think that it just, again, gives you more optionality and flexibility. I love you guys, but you're clearly not listening. You've jumped in late. And I appreciate you being here. But we've talked about Mobley, and we've talked about. And I love you, Oz.
I think he's just saying that I just missed it in the ranking that I just gave, because you were saying you wanted Mobley like quite high up before.
Fair enough. I apologize. I take it back. Yeah, that's my fault. That's hand up. My bad.
Hey, emotions are running high right now. It's tough. It's fucking, of all the times we've been doing these pods, man, this feels like a pretty shitty time to be a Celtics fan.
I've lashed out, and I can't believe I've lashed out at Oz, an OG. I apologize deeply. Mobley is probably might be second behind the Blazers thing, off and ahead of Jaylen.
Interesting.
Staying.
Yeah.
Just because I think that the chemistry, and like I think that at some point you have to rip the Band-Aid off. I think it's just a little bit too awkward and uncomfortable.
Yep. Yeah, and like just the way that Tatum boosts bigs that he plays with, like, and this is why the Jalen Duren thing is interesting as well, because it's just like if you get a legit like All NBA level big and pair them with Jason Tatum, what does that look like? And of course, like I still am yet to pull my mind away from the sort of visual fantasies I was having about Giannis being put into that tandem, but I digress. Okay, and then so we've got like, you know, the Rockets, and there's like, I know people have been kicking around some Hawks ideas as well, but they're kind of like, I think they're below what we're considering ranking.
We wouldn't even do the
at this
Hawks.
point. Yeah, I don't think there's much point, just because in a 1-for-1 trade, like if you're getting like a third team involved, sure, fine, but like the whole Risache, Okongwu, and a bunch of other shit, like, sorry, get fucked. Not
Yeah, like
interested.
if Jalen Johnson's in there, sure. I don't really.
Yeah, yes.
We're Australian. Like, yeah, Jalen Johnson. Yeah, hey, jump to the top of the ranking list if you're thrown into this trade, sure.
For sure. But then it's like,
Like
why do
the
you do it?
Dyson
Same with
Daniels
Wiggins.
thing. I don't know. I love Australians. I hope we sign Jock Landau. To me, he's just $25 million. He's better than Jordan Walsh. I know that's hyperbole, but like, I think Dyson is horrifically overpaid. I know he's elite defensively. Some of the offensive connector stuff is real, but again, is the goal to win in the playoffs? Like, you just cannot be that bad of a shooter and that kind of flawed as an offensive player if you're trying to win a title. I'm not looking to pay him $25 million. Can you talk me into bringing him on and then spinning him out after you boost his value in the regular season? Sure, but we're just talking like straight up. There's only so many contingencies we can kind of talk through. A Kuminga, fucking Okongwu. I don't know. Okongwu, Alexander Walker, Dyson, and then picks. But again, why that seems like so much for them to give up. And like, why are they doing the trade if they lose Okongwu and Alexander Walker? I guess you're getting Jalen.
And there's just been no noise really on that either. And there's been plenty of noise elsewhere, you know, so plenty of other machinations to discuss. Sorry, don't know how to talk. Not a good trade for a person doing a podcast. I reckon we should pause the draft stuff, wait for Spoonie to come back. Like we'll probably do another pod in a couple of days, and Spoonie will give us the full deep dive. And we should talk about Ron Harper Jr. before we wrap this thing up. 3 years, $9 million. I think it's great. Great business all year round on both sides.
Almost.
Clearly the ability to talk has left me. I'm feeling emotional about this Jaylen Brown stuff. On both sides, great business. I think everyone benefits in that. It's a fair contract, but obviously, I don't want to say it's a generous contract. It's just fair. It's fair on both sides. I think everyone wins, Jake.
I think this is the good thing about being in the NBA. Like this, I think is going to end up as a scam contract. This might become a Ron Hooper Jr. podcast once next season starts and everything's falling apart. I think he's awesome. Like we've covered the 7 foot plus wingspan, the ability to like dribble, catch and shoot, the rebounding on both ends has been like electric. Every time he stepped on the court, except for Game 7 of the first round, which Joe Mazzulla, I mean, talk about putting a guy in a place to be unsuccessful. Like I really believe in Ron Harper Jr. and getting him on this 3 years. I thought like, can you get him for 2? Maybe the second one's like a team option or a player option. We haven't seen the option stuff confirmed, I don't think yet. No. But 3 years at $3 million per in apron era, you to be successful and win, you have to have guys like this. That live up to what I believe is incredible potential. And despite him being a little bit older, high level shooter, connector, the defense, two-way guy, I would not be surprised if he ends up like the best of all of the wings. I think I'd probably still bet on Ugo as the most likely to be like the having the highest ceiling and reaching it. But I think I might have Hooper Jr. right there, man.
Yeah, he flashes a little less than someone like Walshy, but he's just sort of tighter and more consistent in what he does do, which is essentially like very legit 3-and-D at an incredible price point. And of all the things and like calling it like good business and stuff for the Celtics, I'm just like stoked for him because it's like, it's one of the more, I think, like satisfying from a fan perspective player success trajectories where it's like kind of in and out of the league, a lot of G League, uncertain. Meanwhile, many, like multiple other family members have had or are having great success in the league, and you're kind of like floating around the edges a little bit. And to get a confirmed 3-year deal, known contributor, wasn't quite the hero of Game 7, unfortunately. But the fact that, I don't know if I can spin this at all, but I was going to say the fact that Joe Mazzulla like trusted Ron in that instance to throw him in there, I think is very, very telling. We're running the highlights now on YouTube and like,
a blessing in disguise. Thank God he played bad in Game 7, so we could sign him to this, contract. Well done, Ron. Thank you for saving us some money. But yeah, I guess my point about like the NBA being awesome, it's like you can get on a scam deal. Like I think if he overperforms his contract and he's in those like best contracts of all, like what best or worse if you're the player, you're still getting paid $3 million. You know, like every year that you hang on to being in the NBA, you're making life-changing money as long as you don't piss it away. So you just locked in $9 million, which is more money than most humans will ever see. I understand taxes, etc. Every fucking human deals with taxes. Yeah, you can deal with the taxes when you're making that much money. So I'm stoked for them. And he's got his brother Dylan to fucking pay for
dinner,
all the dinners, and all the backyard stuff. Yeah.
Love it. And you need contributors at this price point, especially in this sort of financial NBA climate. We've got a comment here from Top Gun saying Jokic saying now he doesn't want to stay in Denver. I don't know if he did say that. I thought he said I want to remain a Nuggets forever is the quote that I saw. It's just more about maybe a hesitance to opt into a contract extension is what I saw. But please state your source, Top Gun. And we'll discuss it more on the next pod. But yeah, shout out Ron Hooper Jr. Love it. Very happy to not see him go elsewhere. And I think we've got so much to look forward to outside of this whole Jaylen thing, just in the trajectory of all of our young talent. And Hugo, probably the figurehead of all of that, Jake. But much to look forward to. And with Summer League coming up, we're going to start getting into Summer League previews. instant reactions, all that kind of stuff with some actual basketball being played. I'm looking forward to getting back into like things happening on the court, Jake. Anything else before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, maybe you're right. Wait one more year and trade Jaylen for Jokic.
Shit. Now we're talking. All right. Let's leave it there. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back in a couple of days with all the latest, so please subscribe, hit the like button, all that good stuff. Jake Eisenberg, love your work, man. Until next time, go Celts.